call this the work session of Dallas City Council to order, Monday, May 6, 2024. Secretary, please call the roll.
Council President Schilling.
Here.
Councilor Adams.
Here.
Councilor Briggs.
Here.
Councilor Jantz.
Here.
Councilor Shane.
Here.
Councilor Verdon.
Here.
Councilors Barrientos, Collins, and Fitzgerald are excused.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is Travel Salem. I'll turn it over to City.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Woods. So Travel Salem reached out to the city of Dallas and wanted to come and give a presentation on kind of tourism here locally and throughout the region. And so they're with us tonight. I believe the executive director of Travel Salem is with us. Is that right? Come on up.
Doesn't look like it.
There's a button you have to hold
Yeah,
down for about a
big
second.
square button.
There you
It's
go.
on.
Very technical, and I did it. Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Angie Villery. I'm President and CEO of Travel Salem. And I've been out here with you once before, but it's been a minute. And we've had a lot going on, so we wanted to come and just check in with you. So Mayor Woods and Council, delighted to be here. Going to run through some information kind of briskly. There's a lot here. Feel free that if you want to stop me in the middle and ask the question. Be happy to do that.
I have one very important question.
Yeah.
Whose dog is that?
His name is Kuma, and it's a Salem couple, a family that has him, and he is just the sweetest little four-legged human ever. He's done.
And he knows how to mug for the camera.
He sure does, and he just, our current visitor guide for 23-24, he's sitting in the river, and he had to sit there for like 35 minutes. And he just sat there. He was just happy to do it. Just a delightful personality. I also want to introduce my colleague Anton Cobb, who's our community relations specialist with us here tonight as well. So we'll go ahead and launch into it.
We refer to that community as East Dallas.
East Dallas, there you go, exactly.
Yeah.
The east side. Okay, I think I can just hit here we go. So you did receive this report ahead of time. I'm going to go into some highlights and provide a little extra context for you. So we measure progress on 9 major key performance measurements, primarily estimated economic impact. How much revenue are we bringing into the region from external communities? And so that was up 16%. I'll just go to the next slide here, give you a little bit more detail. It was up 16% to more than $750 million coming into our communities here. Travel Salem supports Marion and Polk counties. There's about 28 cities in there that we support, and Dallas is one of our favorites. So some of that economic impact is landing here, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you can see the growth over the years, and we've recovered nicely out of COVID, so we're well on our way. What's behind those numbers? You can see some context here around the different categories that are driving that type of volume. And here we're looking at the bottom there's a little picture of $1, but it's for every $100 of visitor spending, $33.50 returns to the local economy in employee earnings. So employees, we employ almost 8,000 employees in the region. That's what almost 8,000 employees looks like. So a lot of service industry folks here delivering amazing customer service every single day. So who are our visitors? We had about 2.7 million people visit here last year. And primarily they're boomers that are coming here, but we get visitation from all the different generations. So we really have to market and appeal to all those different interests. And this destination has such a broad assortment of things to do that we do bring a lot of folks here. Key satisfaction rating was very, very high overall, almost 100%. So people love coming here. Sometimes, and especially no city councils, you guys hear nothing but a lot of troubles and problems, but the visitor loves it here and they keep coming back. So where are they coming from? The top countries of origin, USA, United States folks love to visit America. They travel their own country. Canada comes here and so forth. And then top states of Oregon, the same holds true. Oregon loves to explore Oregon. So we have a lot of Pacific Northwest visitors that come here and keep coming back. So you can see the traveler type there in that top pie chart. Repeat visitation is very high. And that speaks to the quality of experience here. They have a great time and they want to come back again. So we love to hear that. The composition of party, so kind of, you know, who's coming here, couples, all the way to folks traveling with their pets, and we market to all of them. This information here is a really interesting slide. I hope you can, yes, you can see it pretty well. So we have some data that we access that's a geolocation data. So when someone enters a location with their phone, this information is collected and aggregated. So we can tell where people are coming from, how long they stay here, where they go before and after that destination. And so we're tracking those numbers to see what is really driving the visitation. So what you see here in front of you are visitors. It's tracking 2,000 or more visitors coming from 50 miles away. So you have to have a minimum of 2,000 visitors to even rank on this list. And then it's divided between yellow, which is Salem specific, or outside of Salem, which is in blue. And there's a stark difference between these two charts. The chart on the left are events that are held in the region. And you can see that those events are largely driven by the Salem market. And it's all ranked by percentage of visitors. So what is the percentage of visitors coming to that location from out of market? Ironman is a huge driver as well, Oregon State Fair on the Salem side, World Beat Festival. And there's some really wonderful regional events there too, the Wooden Shoe Tulip Festival, St. Paul Rodeo, Oktoberfest, and so forth, Independence, 4th of July. So events are really being driven by the Salem market. When you look at attractions, which is the chart on the right-hand side, you can see a shift. The attractions in the region are really what are driving the visitation on that side. So, you know, everything from Detroit Lake to our wineries to Silver Falls, and Basket Slough Wildlife Refuge is a major driver as well. And I know that's out here in our area. But that helps us understand what the lures are. Why do people come here? And one of the things that we have to consider is the impetus for travel is oftentimes different than what folks do on the ground. So they might be coming here to visit the state capitol, or they might be coming here for wine country or our recreation, but when they're on the ground here, they might go golfing, go, bird watching, go to a theater, have a really wonderful meal, and so forth, go shopping. Tax-free shopping is big here. So we use all of that to package up the destination and drive folks to come here and leave their money behind in our communities. So, oops, I clicked too many times, sorry. Our visitor information network, which is basically visitor centers that we have across the region, we have 8 of them currently. If you have a location out here that you'd like to have a service, we'd be happy to work with your partners in the region to do that. But we served about 120,000 folks roughly last year coming to the visitor information locations. And that's where they pick up our visitor guide. The visitor guide is pretty much our primary print piece that we do. So print is not dead. We do advertise online and social media and all those things, but the visitor guide is still very valued. We print 120,000 of those and we distribute them to 800 locations. I'll talk about that in a second. But the other point is in that first bullet. When I started this job about 17 years ago, I used to hear all the time, oh, there's nothing to do here. There's nothing to do here. I don't really hear that much anymore. And I think that's because of the incredible growth in our communities here. Almost 19,000 events last year. And that's averaging about over 1,500 a month. There's so much to do here, from festivals to farmers markets to you name it. What a robust destination. We have the pleasure of living here. And we service relocation inquiries as well. People that are looking to move here, businesses that are looking to relocate here, we work with them. And we work with large employers as well for their executive recruitment. So we meet with those executives to show them what there is for their family to see and do when they're not working, which is a very important part of the puzzle. Sorry, I'm having trouble with the keyboard. So the visitor guide, as I mentioned, 120,000 of those are printed, 800 plus locations. We focus primarily on the Pacific Northwest, but they are distributed across the world. And I do for a second want to just mention our name, Travel Salem. The reason that Salem is in our name is that the visitor wants to come to the capital region of Oregon. And we use that as a lure to market the whole destination. I know that a lot of our partners out in our rural communities kind of get frustrated that Salem's in our name, but we want to leverage that to the betterment of all of our communities. We are going through a strategic planning process right now. I encourage all of you to get involved if you'd like. And one of the things that we'll be talking about is looking at a possible name change, or a different tagline or something that maybe would feel a little bit more inclusive. There are two different ways of looking at that. Visitors that come here, the brand works very well. Travel Salem, the most Oregon part of Oregon. But the geopolitical challenges that we have in our area, people are not as happy about it. So we want to make sure that the name of the organization and the work we're doing represents all of us. And I really hope that you might consider getting involved in our strategic planning process. Our website is the portal to the world, travelsalem.com. And we had about 240,000 user sessions last year. And we translated our website into 5 different languages, and we're translating it into more languages as we speak to be as inclusive and welcoming as we can. You can see the different, the top 10 locations where folks come to our website and look for information to come visit here. Our advertising, we do a lot of digital advertising that I mentioned before. We do Facebook posts, blogging, consumer newsletters, Google ads, website, and so forth. Well, we have a new technology that allows us to track those digital ads and whether or not they translate into a booking into the market. So that information is on the left there. So you can see that we had about 2.4 million digital impressions, about almost 41,000 website visits, and that translated into almost 3,000 room nights, hotel bookings, not room nights, hotel bookings, and hotel revenue, about 736,000. We also advertise on the Expedia platform to promote the destination's hotel inventory, and that drove another 1.5 million in hotel revenue. So for every $1 that we spend, we would drive another 8 in return to the market. Our e-communications, I've mentioned that a little bit before, our blog, our consumer e-news. Our consumer e-news reaches about 9,000 visitors that want to sign up for information, and we communicate on the regular with about 5,000 industry folks here that live and work in this region. Content creation. So we have shifted our focus to short form and long form video. That's really what's performing the best. That's what a visitor who's looking to travel the world, where do they want to go next? They use video to really help them make that decision about where they want to go. And so we produce that content in-house. So we did more than 50 last year, and I'd love to share one of them with you briefly. I won't do the whole thing because it's a little bit longer. But do I just click, or do I have to hit the... Okay. So let's give it a shot here, maybe. No? Oh, let me try that. Will we have sound, Anton? There may not be sound, but there's voiceover happening on this video where the actual proprietor, Ms. Ford, is actually talking about her family, the history, and the importance of her beautiful video. So I won't take any more of your time on that, but check it out on our website. It lives there so folks can see it.
By the way, if none of you have been there, it's a beautiful place about 5 minutes from here. 10 minutes from here, really.
It's stunning. Sorry, I'm
Could
trying
you
to...
very briefly distinguish between short form and long form?
Well, short form would be probably 7 to 10 seconds. Long form would be a minute or two sometimes. This one is a 3-minute long video.
Okay.
It depends how much the visitor really engages with the content. Sometimes they'll click out, but if somebody really is interested, they'll stick with it. Okay. On the social media side, we do a ton of content creation. This is really where the rubber meets the road. This is where we influence trip planning, and After someone has come here, this is where they share out their experience that they had in our market. So this is some content specific to Dallas that we are just so excited to share with you. I don't know if you saw it hit. I don't know if you follow our channels, but we promoted Christmastown, USA in November, the Two Wolves Tap Room in April, and Basket Slough in March. And had some great traction on those different posts there. Sorry, the numbers at the top there show the total number of impressions that Instagram, for instance, garnered for us last year, about 827,000, and impressions on the Facebook side as well. On the public relations side, this is where we have one dedicated staff person, and she pitches stories about our community to editors and reporters across the globe, really. She's quite successful in getting coverage. She promotes kind of new and interesting things, looks for what the editor or reporters are really looking for, and then tries to find content that they'll sink their teeth into. So she got 81 articles and references posted last year, about 118 million impressions. And she attends a Travel and Words conference to pitch and have direct relationships with these writers. And they come to our market and produce coverage. So she got 10 articles from that. This is very in general. I wanted to share with you some of the hits. This is the type of coverage that we're able to garner. So some great coverage on MSN for dreamy hot springs here in our community. Time Magazine voted the Willamette Valley as the next Napa. That was huge. And we're trying to leverage that to garner attention and visitation here to our region. And then the Boston Globe also talked about our truffle festival and our truffles here in the Willamette Valley. Specifically for our community here in Dallas, we got some other great coverage here. You can see on traveloregon.com. They get a ton of visitation, about 180,000 impressions there for Spectacular Ciders. That was featuring the sorry, I'm having a little hard time reading this part. Salt Creek Cider House, which we've actually done quite a bit of work for. And then in the Vancouver Family Magazine, we got some additional coverage for West Valley Tap House, Salt Creek Cider House, and so forth. And there's just a couple examples up there of influencers that we work with and the content that they create from that. Some additional content that we created in our blogs. I won't go through all the detail here, but lots of great stuff happening in Dallas, and we try to fold that into all the content that we create to promote the destination. I mean, we're so blessed here, frankly. We kind of work in three different channels, really. We work in recreation, we work in culinary, and we work in culture and history. Those are the three things that we kind of weave together, and you have it in spades here, so we love including and featuring your work here. On the print and advertising side, we do a ton of that work as well. Pre-COVID, you can see what the growth has been into 22, 23. We have a different funding stream that we're able to use now. It's called the Sound Tourism Promotion Area. Those funds are not restricted, so we can promote anywhere in the region with those funds, and we do promote the whole region. The TOT that we get from the city, the room tax monies, are restricted. Those can only be spent to market businesses inside Salem city limits. So the STPA funding that we got is critical for us spreading the story and the word of our communities. So you can see the growth there. On the conventions and sports side, that's where we're recruiting events, conferences to the region here. And we have had some great success with that. These are some different trade shows that we attend where we meet one-on-one with event organizers, sports planners, and recruit that business here in the market. Right now, we have an RFP in with the convention, the Oregon State Fairgrounds, and that would be 50 dates in a year for one group. It would be huge. It is a very large sporting event. If we are able to land it, you will all know them immediately. And so, you know, that's the type of work we're doing, because it fills all of the rooms within the whole region immediately. All your hotels will be filled. So that's really great. On the destination development side, you've probably heard of, hopefully you've heard of the development, the Mid-Willamette Valley Tourism Economic Development Consortium that we started, which is really to bring together economic development professionals across Marion and Polk County. So it's chambers of commerce, it's city and county economic development professionals, Main Street programs, Other DMOs like Travel Salem or visitor, bureaus or whoever is doing that work. And we come together and talk about issues that are impacting the industry and collectively kind of do a little think tank and brainstorming of how to solve some of those issues. We had our last one here in September. Dallas hosted us. I really want to thank you guys for doing that. We had it at the Dallas Civic Center. And out of that work has come a lodging task force. That group is working on different communities are at different stages in recruiting hotels into their markets. And so we're working with them to see if we can assist with that process and help connect the dots. And we also did a letter of support for your T-Mobile Hometown Grant as well. On the destination development side, again, this is about our Great Oaks Food Trail. Dallas has a lot of product in that promotion, in that trail. Hopefully you guys are aware of that or have seen the brochure, but we really thank you for all of the support you've provided to that. That's a very popular program. Visitors love it, and it's doing really well. We continue to renew it each year, add new assets, refresh the marketing on it. Looking into the future, just a few things to highlight really quick. So we are working on with a group called Resilient Headwaters. It's out in the Willamette National Forest, up by the Santiam. Fire ravaged area, all of that recreation was destroyed. And there's these two gentlemen that are committed to reviving it. So they have crews of folks who are going out there clearing trails. Travel Salem put $20,000 toward that. We got a grant for $50,000 to support this work. And out of that has come 180 delineated trails that they just launched. They're not all open. They are in the process of opening them, but they have defined them. So we know the elevation of them, how hard they are, the length of them, whether they are ADA compliant, have restrooms, parking, all of that. So that's inventory that we can use to market as a region to draw visitors here. So we're excited about that. We are in conversations with Polk County folks about gooseneck as well. So we'll see what we can come up with that. The Cultural Heritage Intern Program, this is something we launched very recently, where our cultural heritage groups usually have very, very few folks working. They're like 1 or 2 person shops typically, and they're doing everything themselves. And so we asked them, what do you need help with? And based on that feedback, we created job descriptions, and then we went out and basically hired the interns to do that work for them. That was a very successful program. We're looking at rolling it out industry-wide. So venues, attractions, hotels, restaurants, events, anybody that needs help, we'll be reaching out and seeing if we can drive the same kind of support for our industry. We'll keep you posted on that. We did strike a deal with KPTV, and we have a weather cam now that's on the Holman Hotel in downtown Salem. It kind of can turn, but it faces into Minto Brown Park out toward this area, this beautiful area out here. So you can see the weather systems rolling across sometimes, but also looks at traffic patterns, and we're getting a ton of coverage and visibility from that as well for our community. As I mentioned, we're in a strategic planning session right now. If you're interested in getting involved, please see me or let Anton know. We'd love to have your voice at the table. We did open a new headquarters building downtown Salem. It was purely a mission-driven opportunity. Previously, we'd been located in kind of over off of High Street and State Street, and we were paying about $10,000 for rent plus parking. And when COVID hit, we cut everything that we possibly could, and the rent was still like choking us. So I decided to make some changes. And so now we've moved into this location. We purchased our own building. We now have tenants, and our entire financial obligation for, mortgage and parking is less than $3,000 a month. So that was our hope, was to reduce our financial burden, be able to pay that debt over time, and then turn all those funds over back into service and programs. So that's working. We're having an open house, and I'll have a slide, I think, about that. We'd love to welcome you there to come check it out as well. Our visitor center has room for different displays in it for cultural heritage groups. If you have anybody, send them our way. We'd love to showcase them there. And then Travel Salem was helped lead the way in recruiting commercial air service back into the market. So we have Avelo flying out of here. They're flying to Las Vegas and Burbank. They've now added Sonoma, Santa Rosa. So we now have connection between each wine country, Napa and Willamette Valley, which is amazing. We are currently in conversations with another airline that could connect us possibly to Phoenix and San Francisco. So we're hoping to continue to grow that regional support of our communities. We've always been a drive market for the most part. And now we are able to fly folks directly in here. There are conventions and groups that want to come here that haven't been able to come because they couldn't fly here. So we're very excited about that. These are just some additional slides that I just was conveying to you. Sorry, the fonts are a little bit messed up, but we have some data on how many visitors are coming through that airport, how many of them are using Salem hotels, how many of them are staying in regional hotels. So we're kind of assessing our marketing strategies based on that. They just did turn a profit for the first time, which is very exciting. And my last slide is for our open house on May 16th. And we'll make sure you get an actual personal invitation to that. We'd love to have you join us, but I'm happy to take any questions or
Any questions?
feedback.
I have a couple.
Wonderful.
How do you get head counts
How do we get head counts? For what, for instance?
for all of these activities? Because they're all going on about the same time. So you don't have that many people to go out and start counting off heads.
No, that's a really, really great question, Mayor. We use technology. We use data sources that tell us how many folks are coming into the area. So there's no way that we can count that. And on the leisure side, we've never really been able to evaluate the success of that. For large groups that are coming in, we know this convention's bringing in 2,500 people. They're staying for this many days. But on the leisure side, they kind of pass and move amongst us freely, and so we don't know who's a visitor and who's not. But we have some technology that helps us count and know how many people are coming into the destination. And it's not precise, it's not 100%, but they do have some algorithms and some things they use to make sure that the numbers, and we have been able to kind of cross-check that. It's very, very accurate.
And some of these activities are in our area, so we should get credit for it. But
100% you do get credit for them, absolutely.
we also have this Sounds of Summer, and some nights we can't count how many people are there because there's just too many.
We can help you with that.
Okay.
We can definitely help you with that.
And then also in the summertime, we got softball tournaments. And there's thousands of people coming to those every weekend.
Yep, that's a huge business right there. Yeah, we can help you with that. So what we would do is we will geo-fence that area, and then we can track who's coming and going out of there. And we get all kinds of data. We know where they're coming from, their home zip codes, essentially. The technology can differentiate between a resident and a visitor. And I mean, it's fascinating. Kind of scary a little bit, but it's fascinating.
Any other questions? Yes, Larry.
Do you have any means to help us promote other events like our pickleball or our frisbee golf or things like that that seem to be organically growing on their own? I don't know if they do much advertising.
We are definitely plugged in on the disc golf piece. You guys have some really good courses out here, the best in the whole region. And so I know that on our sports side, we're talking to different event organizers that bring in tournaments about that. So I know that we're working on that. The pickleball is, man, it sure took over the country by storm. It's such a great sport. And so, yes, we absolutely do and would support that. If you need additional help or specific types of help, let us know, and we're here to help, definitely. Our PR side, our social media side, all of that can jump in and help.
Another question I have is, we have 1.5 hotels here in town. So does that limit, in your mind, our ability to promote these activities, or is it fairly easy for these folks to lodge in Salem and travel over here?
Well, I mean, our goal would be to fill your hotel rooms too. But yes, I mean, the compression, depending on what's happening in the market, there is compression. We only have like a little over 2,000 rooms in Salem. And in the whole region, it's not much more than that. So what our experience has been is that folks come and stay in Salem, but they travel all around. They come to the restaurants out here, they go to events and theater, and they do everything, buy gas here, you know, all of that stuff. So try to make sure that we push them out into the community. That's why our visitor center is so important. Our goal is to lengthen the stay. The longer somebody stays here, the more money they leave behind. And I've always said, Salem isn't a true destination in and of itself. You might be able to come a day or two, but if we want someone to stay 3 or 4 days or a week, we need all of our communities working together. That's what really creates the strength of the engine. So yes, we are here to support you, and we promote your community. We feel that this is our community too. So, but anything we can do to help, and if you want to do like a brainstorm or a think tank, we can also do that and talk about some of the real, you know, detailed logistics of things or some of the priorities you want to talk about. We'd be happy to do that.
Any other questions? Thank you, this is very interesting.
Thank you for allowing me so much time.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Fire Department 2024 Annual Report.
All right, thank you, Mayor Woods. So we will transition the slides to those of our Fire Chief April Wallace, and we'll invite her to come up and give her presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. So my report does say 24, but realistically, I took the information from the year 23. So we did January 1st through December 31st. It painted a little bit more accurate picture of currently how we're operating. So these are the services that we provide. Pretty much when people don't know what to do, they call the fire department. We are, I would say, a full service organization. We do not do like a high angle type rescues and that kind of thing. We rely on mutual aid partners for that. Here is our current organizational chart. So we have transitioned a lot in the last year. We definitely do not look the same. When we talk about our organizational chart, we're truly more of a combination fire department. So just to give you an example, our career firefighter, EMT, paramedics, we have 16. We have 18 part-time employees that are dual role and single role. On the volunteer side, we have 14 volunteer suppression. We have 8 supports, 4 that are currently going through our recruit academy, and 5 chaplains that we share with the police department. So look at our current apparatus. Our newest apparatus to the fleet is the 2024 Spartan, which arrived in Hillsborough last week. Deputy Chief Rogers.
That's not a picture of it, I hope.
That is no. We do like to keep the old things too. So that is our ladder wagon.
I did see a picture of it on your website.
Yeah, and it will be out in the monthly newsletter that Melissa created to go out next week, I think is when it goes out. And then it's on our Facebook page too. We're really excited about that as we develop the spaces for build the compartments. We'll have more photos to be able to share. We hope to have it in service in July. It should take a couple of weeks in Hillsborough at True North. And then we'll take about a month to make sure that everybody's trained on this engine, just because it is a different type. It's very simplistic, but it meets everything that we need. When you look at the list of the apparatus that we currently have, this engine will replace the 1995 Pierce that we have. We're still trying to figure out the best way to put that engine into service elsewhere. When you look at our ambulances, you look at the mileage that we've accumulated on our ambulances. The one that we got last spring already has 35,000 miles on it. The 19 has 190, and so on. The next ambulance that we're going to be pulling off the line is going to be the 2004 International, the red ambulance that we purchased from the city of Salem. We did surplus the 2011 International to Public Works. So they were able to use that for their camera equipment.
I just realized that's a picture of Butch Mosier.
Oh,
He's the fire chief back then, and apparently the chief pulls that apparatus, so it's your job now.
so I have been on the pushing side of that, and you don't think that Jefferson and Main Street have much of an incline until you're the brakes on this thing. It was very interesting that we're hoping that when we have the Dallas Days Parade, we'll be able to have that in the parade as well.
But somebody else is pulling it.
Oh, no.
Just you?
I'll probably be out there. There'll be 4 of us. Some key accomplishments that we had in the 2023 year, the renovation of the EMS station and sleeping quarters for on-duty personnel. As always, you're more than welcome to always come and tour the station. We would love to show you what we've done to everything there. We've transitioned all of our personnel, with the exception of our with the exception of our part-time folks. They work 12-hour shifts, but we've transitioned everybody to a 48-96 schedule. We've implemented a program through ESO, which is our report writing data collection system, to better help us with emergency pre-plans and business inspections. We began hosting training classes for other organizations. We partnered most recently with Shemeketa to bring in the EMT intermediate course that we had several of our mutual aid partners attend. Obviously, we purchased the fire truck with the ARPA funding.
Was that 100%, or did we have to kick some of it in?
What?
The purchase of the fire truck, was
The
it?
purchase of the fire engine was exclusively ARPA funding. I believe it was in August that I had asked for the reallocation of the funds from the training facility to the fire engine.
I remember that, I just wasn't sure if it was 100% coverage.
Yeah, the cost of the engine in total, not including the equipment that we're putting on it, was $847,000. We were awarded a seasonal grant through OSFM. We were not successful with that grant this year. However, we have to look at it from the other aspect of they did offer that grant and awarded it to other organizations that probably had a greater need. So that's good that they're able to have those resources go there as well. We developed and implemented for the first time ever a field training program for our EMS employees, which basically helps our newer paramedics and EMTs. They're partnered with a more seasoned, trained paramedic or EMT to be able to go through a program very similar to what the police officers do, but we do that for the EMS side to help hone in on their skills and make sure that they understand our procedures and protocols. We began hosting in-house EMS training for our staff as well as mutual aid partners. That's new for us. Usually we've gone elsewhere for training. A number of our staff are currently trained to teach BLS and ALS, which is the paramedic and the EMT level skills. When we look at our training, I know that was a big focus on when we pulled away from the training facility, what we were going to do to supplement that. And as you can see, the in-house hours that we've provided for training is 3,301. That's for a total of all of our personnel. What we did find out is when we were pulling the statistics for the training hours, we're not capturing all of our training. We send quite a few folks to DPSST, as well as the National Fire Academy and other organizations for training. We are lacking in recording those hours. So that was something that we can do better, because I guarantee you that that number is probably double what it is now. But then when you look at the number of hours that our volunteer members put in for in-house training, it's a total of 1,611 hours, which is incredible when you think about these folks also have other jobs and they're doing it for free. Some other points of interest, we had 3 major fires last year, 2 on July 5th and 1 earlier in the year. When we look at property that's involved in the loss, we try to capture that. We provided mutual aid to our neighbors 81 or 88 times. They provided mutual aid to us for 81 times. So that's truly what a mutual aid partnership should look like. The numbers should balance out. And then down the bottom is the list of conflagrations that we responded to last summer. This is kind of exciting for us. So this is our call volume for our first out apparatus, whether that be Duty 100 or Engine 101 or Medic 101. We have tried to capture most of the calls that they respond on. When you look at the series, the fire, the hazard, the call for service, the good intent, and the false alarms. A good intent would be like a lift assist, smoke in the area, that type of thing. We responded to 1,011 calls.
Interesting that those two, the service calls and good intents have spiked substantially, whereas all the others have either declined or stayed about the same.
Right. I don't really know why that would be.
It's interesting.
Again, it's also when people are not sure what to do, they call us. We try to remedy a lot of issues for folks, which we're glad to provide the service, and we're able to do that for them. When we talk about the 90 percentile for our first out apparatus, so that would be kind of this slide here, we're looking at the 90 percentile. So what that means is 90% of the time we want to be at a good level. So we compare the numbers for 2022 and 2023. And when you look at the daytime shoot time, which is the times that we're out the door, it pretty much stayed the same for the daytime, but the real difference is going to be in the nighttime. So for the first time ever starting, we had the captain's transition in January to a 4896, and then in July, we had everybody transfer to a 4896. So that provided in-station fire and EMS coverage. So when you look at the times in 2022, the first out apparatus for their shoot time in 2022 was 4 minutes and 32 seconds. In 2023, it went down to 1 minute and 44 seconds. And that response time is an average, obviously, right? And then when we look at the travel time is even decreased too. So when you look at the 2022 numbers and the 2023 numbers, first out was 2 minutes and 48 seconds. In 2023, it went down to 1 minute, 16 seconds. And when you look at the 90 percentile, which would be 2 minutes and 45 seconds, we responded to 3,296 incidents. So compared to the year before at 52, that's incredible. Just a lot of hustle getting out the door.
What do you attribute that to?
Having
Training?
paid staff.
Okay.
Our EMS call volume, when you look at how we respond for EMS, we've provided 4,313 calls for that. Our highest recorded months were July and October, and followed by December. And it was a lot of, in the summertime, we do respond to a lot of heat exhaustion, overexertion. And then in December, we had the ice storm, so there was quite a few slips, trips, and falls that we responded to on that. Talk about our interfacility transfers from West Valley Hospital. In the 23 year, we responded to 900 transfers from West Valley Hospital. So it was either to Salem Hospital or another higher level of care hospital. So we talk about some of our challenges.
April,
Obviously,
can you back up a minute? Sorry.
yes.
How does that compare to the year before?
Which-
Transfers?
I didn't pull up the year before, but I can certainly get that data back to you and report
Didn't
on
we
that.
buy an ambulance dedicated to that specific cause?
We are working on that part. You'll hear about that soon. What we have done though is we've dedicated an actual position, and then we've worked with West Valley Hospital for a contract to be able to do those interfacility transfers. So that position is 7 days a week from 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. The hospital provides the paramedic, we provide the driver and the ambulance. And that seems to be working extremely well. Having that transfer ambulance does take the load off of our other staff, other shifts. So they're able to handle the 911 calls that come in. Or if they receive an emergent transfer from the hospital, they can handle that too. But these are just, that number specifically is just transfers from West Valley Hospital. And I can get you the data from 2022 if you would like me to do that.
It does work.
And Chief Walls, can you talk about what we're working on it means for the new transfer car?
Yeah, so when you look back at the slide of the mileage that was on our current ambulances, when you think about the fact that we travel to Salem probably no less than 10 times a day, that's a lot of mileage on our equipment. I've been working with the city manager on the purchase of an ambulance specifically dedicated for hospital transfers. So it will be just for the interfacility transfers, which helps keep the mileage off of our other apparatus. Not saying that they are not going to respond to those interfacility transfers, but we'll have a dedicated ambulance specifically for that.
And you already have the dedicated position for it.
We have the dedicated position for it, yes.
We've got that wagon we saw on the first slide.
Yeah, put some.
We want our
put a few
patients to
cushions
be
in
comfortable.
there.
I think that would be a terrible experience.
And when? When would that be taking place?
You will
Hopefully.
hear more from me in an upcoming city council meeting on that. So some of the challenges that we're facing, we talk about the increasing call volume. Right now, we are averaging 15 calls a day. When I pulled the numbers up to April 30th, just so you kind of had an idea of where we're at this year, our total calls for service were 1,839. It's looking to be, we're probably going to approach about 6,000 calls for service this year.
And how would that compare to last year?
It would be about 1,000 more.
That's fire and ambulance?
Yeah. So we're looking at some funding issues, obviously, for additional staffing, including a fire marshal, navigating the new ambulance service area and the boundary lines, not only for our staff, but for dispatch. They had to redo all those lines, and we've been working with Southwest and dispatch and GIS to make sure that we have those boundary lines defined. A dedicated fire training grounds. We have mutual aid partners that we are able to train with. Polk One has a training tower. We also have facilities here. And then we do a lot of training with DPSST where they bring props to us or we go to their facility. So it's still just a challenge not being able to have that accessible, but we're making it work. As we grow, when you look at our fire department, the station itself, it was built for all volunteer fire department. It was not built to have paid staff stay there. So as we grow, that's going to be something that's going to be a challenge for us as far as where people will sleep and where we will do training and that kind of thing.
That goes along with the improved shoot times.
It does. Recruitment and retention for both career and volunteer personnel. Recruiting volunteers has always been a challenge. The nice thing is that the fire service has more opportunities, I think, now than they've had in the past. And we have seen a generation of volunteers that come to us in their late teens, early 20s. Some of them actually want to just give back to their community. Others want to have a position in fire and EMS. In that first year, we train them to a level of firefighter 1. If they've successfully completed their firefighter 1 training, then we will pay for them to get their EMT if that's what they choose to do. And then we've involved ourselves with Shemeketa to do career days so we can recruit more paid staff as well. And then the new thing that's coming to our area is the addition of mid-rise buildings and multifamily buildings, where we're going to see more of those than we've seen in the past. And so that's going to be a different way for us to train as well too.
What is your category of mid-rise?
Excuse me?
What are you categorizing mid-rise versus multifamily?
Mid-rise would be like multiple stories, or 3, 4, 5-story type buildings,
So most apartments.
apartments, correct?
Do you happen to have historical data on average calls per day that you could send us as well?
What would you be looking for specifically?
What the trend is, it's 15 a day now, what was it a year ago? What was
About
it
10.
Where we headed here?
It has increased. Last year, I want to say we averaged about 10 calls a day. And
So it's up 50%.
it's up.
Okay.
But I can provide data from last year as well.
That's good.
One other question on the last. What do you see as being the larger call volume to those areas of the higher density? Is it going to be, I mean, all those buildings are sprinkled,
Right.
so hopefully it's not fire as much, I mean, as far
Right.
as high involved, but more medical alert?
We would probably be looking at more of like medical issues. I would hope that there wouldn't be, especially with how fire code is and how we're trending with keeping buildings within those regulations. My thought would be probably more of medical issues, or if we have power outages, that kind of thing.
And so with that, just want to make sure that my fellow counselors understand the importance of number 1 on your list. And that's keeping the buildings up in a current working condition. That fire marshal is going to play a huge role in that.
That's correct. And currently, we have a IGA with Polk One for their fire marshal as far as the pre-plans development. And then we have an assigned Oregon State Fire Marshal that's assigned to our area for Polk and Yamhill County.
I know it's been a long time since we had a fire marshal. When was the last?
2009.
9, okay, I thought it'd been right around then, yeah.
But the other thing that too, you need to keep in mind, fires do happen. And so we still have to be able to train and be very proficient with that. It's one of those low frequency, high risk. So we need to make sure that if anything does happen, that we're prepared for that. So moving on to opportunities, I'll make this fast, I'm sorry. We applied for a SAFER grant to ask for 3 additional firefighter EMT positions. This year, the grant is for 3 years, and it's a no match. But it's also very competitive because it's nationwide. We're working with Shemeketa Community College. They've decided to implement a firefighter intern program. We will most likely have in the fall a couple of firefighter interns. Currently, we get interns for paramedic. So this will be a new program for them and us. We are working and collaborating with Dallas High School CTE program to bring the emergency medical responder, the EMR course, to their high school students. We will start that program with them in the fall. We're very excited about that because this is the first time ever that we've been able to be included in their CTE program. We're going to work harder at establishing Dallas Fire EMS as a central training facility for continuing education for ALS and BLS providers, our mutual aid partners, and then also our community health providers, and having them be first aid CPR certified by our personnel. And then obviously with having us have 24-hour staffing now, this presents us with the opportunity to be able to go out and do more community outreach and to expand our involvement in community risk reduction activities such as smoke alarm installations, business inspections, and pre-plans. And then I will leave you on this note. We do customer service satisfaction surveys. A lot of times we have older folks that will call in because they don't have access to a computer. So I just wanted to share with you a couple of highlights of how people communicate their satisfaction with us.
I don't know if you saw the news this last weekend in Portland, but there was a shooting in Portland around midnight or so, and there was no ambulance available. So they had to transport the person in a police car.
I did see that.
So it's everywhere.
It is everywhere.
But I think we're doing better than average.
I think we are too.
I think you can broaden that too, because most of the serious problems that we're looking at, for example, the homeless issue and a lot of others that keep popping up, they are everywhere. I mean, there's nothing unique about it. And in many cases, if you compare us to bigger cities, we're in a much better condition than they are. So, yeah, we're doing a good job.
And we have excellent staff. So you'll always be in very capable and taking care of hands.
Is there gonna be a breakfast for Father's Day?
So unfortunately, that event does take a lot of resources. That is sponsored by the Volunteer Association. We just do not have the volunteer numbers to be able to put that on, and it's unfortunate. We have in the past partnered with Rotary and helped them with their breakfast and that kind of thing, but I don't foresee that being something that we're going to be able to continue with.
Bring your own pancakes.
I mean, if you wanted to come make pancakes for the firefighters, they'd probably be happy about
I'd be
that.
happy.
That sounds better.
Thank you, April.
All right, thank you.
Sounds like we should.
Okay, looks like we have about a 5-minute break before city council.